Who's getting married?
Someone from a long time ago.
Are we going too?
Yes, we're going together.
Naomi Carter is standing in her kitchen when the envelope arrives, and the moment her fingers touch the paper, she knows something is wrong. It is heavier than it should be. Cream-colored. Gold foil trim. Her name written in a calligraphy she has not seen in 5 years, the same handwriting that once signed birthday cards, with love, from your future mother-in-law. She opens it slowly, the way you open something you already suspect will hurt you. You are cordially invited to the wedding of Jae-hoon Kang and Yoona Park. Her hands go cold. The date is 3 weeks away. The venue is the Kang family estate, the same gardens where Jae-hoon once got down on one knee and promised her forever. Tucked behind the invitation is a single handwritten note, and it is that note, more than anything, that makes her chest tighten. Asterisk, come see what a real family looks like, Naomi. I always keep my promises, asterisk. It is signed Grace Kang. Naomi sits down hard at her kitchen table. In the next room, she can hear 2 sets of small feet running across hardwood floors, twin laughter chasing each other down the hallway, the same laughter that Grace Kang does not know exists. The same children Grace Kang swore, 5 years ago, that Naomi would never be able to give her son. She looks at the invitation again. Her hand is shaking, but underneath the shock, something else is rising. Something sharper. She is going to that wedding. And she is not going alone. If you've ever received something in the mail that changed the direction of your entire life, type "watching" and tell us where you're tuning in from tonight. Hit subscribe, because this story is about to take you somewhere you won't see coming, and you will not want to miss a second of it. 5 years ago, Naomi Carter was 28 years old and completely certain of 2 things: that she loved Jae-hoon Kang more than she had ever loved anyone, and that his mother hated her for reasons that had nothing to do with who she actually was. Jay, as she called him, the name feeling like something private between them, was the heir to Kang Textiles International, a company his grandfather built from a single loom in Daegu into a global empire. Naomi was a marketing consultant from Atlanta who had walked into his Manhattan office to pitch a rebrand, and walked out 3 hours later having agreed to dinner. Within a year, he had a ring in his pocket and a plan to introduce her to his family. Grace Kang did not smile the first time they met. She looked Naomi over the way a jeweler examines a stone for flaws, and she found plenty, none of them true, all of them convenient. She's not from our world, Grace told Jay in Korean, not realizing Naomi had spent 2 years studying the language in secret, wanting to belong. Naomi never told him she understood every word. Some wounds, she decided, were better carried alone. The engagement lasted 11 months. And then, 6 weeks before the wedding, Grace requested something that would unravel everything: a full medical screening for both of them, for the family's peace of mind, she said, smiling the way people smile when they already know the outcome they intend to manufacture. The results came back sealed, delivered to Grace's private physician instead of to Naomi directly. A week later, Jay sat across from her at the same restaurant where he'd proposed, his eyes red, a folder in his hands he could not bring himself to open in front of her. "My mother says the report shows complications," he said, barely above a whisper. "That you may not be able to have children." "Jay, that's not." She had a specialist review it. 2 specialists. His voice cracked. "The company, the family line, my grandfather's legacy, Naomi, I don't know what to do. So ask me. Ask me what I want to do about it. Don't let your mother hand you a folder and call it my future." But he didn't ask. He let the silence answer for him, and 3 days later, the engagement was over. Grace made sure everyone in their circle knew why. The story spread quietly, cruelly, dressed up as sympathy. Poor Jae-hoon. He wanted children so badly, and she simply couldn't give them to him. Naomi packed 2 suitcases and left New York without a single goodbye to the family that had already erased her. 6 weeks later, alone in a small apartment in Atlanta, she sat on her bathroom floor staring at a pregnancy test, then a second one, then a third, because she could not trust her own eyes. She was not barren. She had never been barren. Whatever Grace Kang's doctors had written in that sealed report, it was a lie built to end an engagement, and Naomi was carrying proof of it beneath her ribs. She tried to call him 3 times that first week. The number had already been changed. She wrote a letter. It came back unopened, stamped return to sender in handwriting that was not his. She was 7 months pregnant, alone, and too proud to beg a family that had discarded her like an inconvenience, so she stopped trying. She raised her chin, rubbed her swelling stomach, and made herself a promise instead. Whatever this child needs, whatever these children need, because by month 5, the doctor confirmed there were 2, I will build it myself. And she did. Naomi turned her marketing skills into her own agency. She worked nights while her mother watched the twins, mornings while they napped, weekends when she had nothing left to give but gave it anyway. Within 3 years, her firm was handling accounts for companies twice the size of the ones that once turned her away. By the time her twins, Elias and Aria, turned 4, Naomi Carter was signing 7-figure contracts and driving a car with her own name on the title, a black Rolls-Royce Cullinan she'd bought not for the luxury, but for what it symbolized. Proof. Undeniable, rolling, gleaming proof that she had not just survived what the Kong family did to her. She had outgrown it. She never told Jay about the twins. Pride, yes, but also fear. Fear of what Grace might do with the knowledge that her son had 2 black children, who would carry the Kong name whether she approved or not. And now, 5 years later, an invitation arrives with Grace's handwriting on it, inviting her to watch the real family Jay is building without her. Naomi looks at the note one more time. Then she looks toward the hallway, where 6-year-old Elias is trying to teach his sister a card trick, his father's exact laugh spilling out of his small chest. Grace wants a real family for the cameras, Naomi thinks. She has no idea what real family actually looks like. She's about to find out. The morning of the wedding, Naomi dresses the twins in deep emerald, Elias in a small tailored suit, Aria in a dress with gold trim that catches the light exactly the way she planned it to. She wears midnight blue, the color of quiet confidence, not celebration. This is not a dress meant to blend into a wedding. It is a dress meant to be remembered. The Rolls-Royce pulls through the gates of the Kong estate at exactly 3:47 p.m., 11 minutes before the ceremony is set to begin, and the driveway, lined with luxury cars and uniformed valets, goes still as heads turn one by one. Grace Kong is standing near the entrance in ivory silk, greeting guests with the practiced warmth of a woman who has spent decades performing grace instead of possessing it. Her smile falters the instant she sees who is stepping out of the car. Naomi. The name comes out like something distasteful. You actually came. You did invite me, Naomi says evenly, stepping aside so the valet can open the rear door. Come see what a real family looks like. Your words, I believe. Grace's eyes drop, and that is when she sees them. Two children, 6 years old, stepping out behind their mother. A boy with Jay's exact jawline. A girl with Jay's exact eyes, set in a face that is unmistakably, undeniably, half Naomi's. The color drains from Grace's face in real time. Who, Grace says slowly, are these children? These, Naomi says, resting a hand on each small shoulder, are Elias and Aria Carter. My son and my daughter. A pause, deliberate, surgical. Jay's son and daughter, if we're being honest about biology, which I understand is not always your family's strong suit. Gasps ripple through the nearby guests, quiet but unmistakable. Grace's hand grips the doorframe. That is not possible, she says, too loud, too fast. You were told. I was told a lot of things 5 years ago, Grace. Most of them, it turns out, were lies. If this story has your heart racing already, drop a comment and let us know. And if stories about long-buried secrets finally coming to light hit you right in the chest, tap that like button before we go any further, because what happens next changes everything. Word travels through a wedding faster than any microphone could carry it. By the time Naomi walks the twins toward the garden where white chairs face an arch dripping in orchids, Jae-hoon Kong has already heard 3 different versions of what just arrived in his mother's driveway. He turns from the altar in his tailored black tuxedo, and when his eyes land on Naomi, and then drop to the 2 small faces beside her, his entire body goes rigid, as if the ground beneath him has quietly disappeared. Naomi, he breathes. Hello, Jay. His gaze moves to Elias, to Aria, and Naomi watches the math happen behind his eyes in real time. The count of years, the shape of a jaw, the color of eyes that are unmistakably his own staring back at him from a child he never knew existed. There, his voice fails him. Yours, Naomi finishes quietly. Both of them. Twins. I found out 6 weeks after you let your mother end our engagement over a lie. A lie? You should ask her. Naomi tilts her head toward Grace, who has gone very still near the arch, ivory silk suddenly looking less like elegance and more like a woman trying to disappear inside her own dress. Ask her what that fertility report really said, Jay. Ask her who actually reviewed it. Ask her why the only copy went to her doctor instead of to me. 150 guests sit frozen in white folding chairs, phones lowering slowly, no one quite brave enough to look away. Mother. Jay's voice carries a warning Naomi has never heard from him before. What is she talking about? Grace lifts her chin, but her composure is cracking at the edges. I did what was necessary to protect this family. You told me she couldn't have children. I told you what the specialists said. Which specialists, Mother? Name them. Right now, in front of everyone. Silence. The kind of silence that answers every question in the room without a single word. Near the altar, a woman in a stunning white gown, Yuna, the bride, 26 years old and visibly trembling, steps forward, her bouquet shaking in her hands. Grace, she says quietly, you told me his ex left because she didn't want children. You told me she chose her career over him. Yuna, sweetheart, this isn't the time. You've been lying to both of us. Yuna's voice rises, cutting cleanly through the garden air. For months, you told me things about a woman I've never even met, and none of it was true, was it? Naomi watches the wedding she was invited to mock her begin to collapse from the inside, brick by carefully placed brick, and for the first time in 5 years, She feels something loosen in her chest that has been clenched since the night Jay handed his silence to her instead of his loyalty. If your stomach just dropped the way it should have, comment below and tell us, do you think Jay already suspected the truth, or is this the first time he's hearing it? Like this video if you felt that gut punch, because we are far from finished. Jay crosses the garden in 6 long strides and crouches in front of the twins, his hands trembling as he holds them just above their small shoulders, not quite touching, as though he's afraid they might vanish if he moves too fast. "Hi," he says softly, and his voice breaks on the single syllable. He glances up at Naomi, silently asking permission for the word. "Go ahead," she says. "I'm your father." Elias studies him with the unblinking honesty only a 6-year-old possesses. "Mom has a picture of you. In a box. She thinks we don't know." Jay's composure finally breaks. He presses a hand over his mouth, and when he looks up at Naomi, there are tears cutting tracks down his face in front of 150 witnesses, and a bride who is currently unpinning a veil with shaking fingers. 5 years, he says. 5 years I thought. You thought whatever your mother needed you to think, because it was easier than trusting me. I tried to find you after. I swear to you, I tried. Did you? Naomi's voice stays level, but underneath it is 5 years of grief finally finding a target. Because I called. I wrote. Every letter came back unopened. Every number was disconnected. Funny how thorough your mother was about protecting the family from a woman who was carrying its heirs. All eyes swing back to Grace, who has gone the color of the ivory silk she's wearing. You intercepted his mail, Una says slowly, realization dawning in her voice like a light switching on in a dark room. You've been controlling everything. Even me. My whole engagement was, she stops, pressing the back of her hand to her mouth. Oh my God. Was any of this real, or was I just the version of Naomi you thought you could control? Grace's mask finally, completely shatters. I did it because I loved my son. Because I knew what that family, what people would say about a marriage like that, what it would cost this company, the shareholders, the color of my skin, Naomi says quietly, and the garden goes utterly silent. Say it, Grace. You've spent 5 years dressing it up as fertility reports and family legacy, but say the actual word, just once, so everyone here understands exactly what almost destroyed 2 children's chance at knowing their father. Grace opens her mouth. Nothing comes out. For the first time in the entire ceremony, Grace Kong has absolutely nothing to say. This is the moment everything has been building toward, and if you love a story where the truth finally catches up to the people who thought they'd buried it, hit subscribe right now, because stories like this one are exactly what this channel was built for, and you don't want to miss what comes next. Jay stands slowly, turns to Una first, because whatever else is true, she deserves that much. I am so sorry, he says. You didn't deserve to be part of whatever she was building. None of this is your fault. Una's eyes fill, but she nods, already pulling the veil fully from her hair. I need you to stop this wedding, Jay. Not because I'm angry at you, because I refuse to marry into a family that would do this. To her. To you. To children who didn't ask to be caught in the middle of it. I already have, he says quietly. He turns back to Naomi, and the garden, 150 guests, caterers frozen mid-step, a string quartet that has long since stopped playing, watches a billionaire drop to one knee in the grass, not with a ring, but with his hands open in front of 2 children he is meeting for the very first time. I can't undo 5 years, he says, looking between Naomi and the twins. I can't give you back the nights you did this alone, or the months you spent hiding your address so my family couldn't find a way to hurt you again. But I am asking, not for a wedding, not for a headline, not for anything my mother would approve of. I am asking for a chance to know my children. And to earn back whatever is left of your trust, one day, if you'll let me. Naomi looks at him for a long moment, 5 years of grief and pride and quiet, relentless building rising up in her chest all at once. Behind him, Grace stands alone near the collapsed arch of orchids, no longer the center of anything, finally as small as the lies she told. You don't get to earn back what you never fought for the first time, Jay, Naomi says softly. But you can start now. Today. With them. She glances down at Elias and Arya, who are watching their father with the cautious curiosity of children meeting a stranger who somehow already feels familiar. That's not nothing. That's actually everything, if you do it right this time. If this story taught you anything about the cost of silence, or the price of letting someone else write your story for you, subscribe, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and tell us in the comments, what's the biggest lesson you're walking away with tonight? 6 months later, Naomi Carter still drives the same Rolls-Royce, though now there are 2 car seats in the back, and a set of small, muddy sneakers that never quite make it into the trunk before Elias forgets them again. Jae-hoon Kong no longer runs Kong Textiles International from the family estate. He moved the company's American headquarters to Atlanta, closer to 2 children who are, for the first time in their lives, growing up with both parents in the same city, learning their father in small, ordinary moments instead of grand gestures, pancakes on Saturday mornings, mismatched bedtime stories, learning, slowly, humbly, how to show up. Grace Kong was quietly removed from the company's board within weeks of the wedding that never happened, her carefully built reputation unraveling under the weight of a truth she could no longer control. Some legacies are not worth protecting, Naomi has come to understand, not if protecting them means erasing the people who deserved a place inside them all along. And some love, however delayed, however imperfect, is still worth the risk of beginning again, not for the family someone else demanded, but for the one that was real all along, hiding in plain sight the entire time.